All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Catfish Weekly. I am Chad Wick, along with hosts Lyle Stokes and Joshua Dunnigan. We have the man, the myth, the North Carolina Flathead Legend himself, Tyler Barnes. We appreciate having you, sir. We appreciate you coming in and joining us tonight. Lyle,
Sir.
do you know how I knew that Tyler Barnes was a Flathead legend?
I did not know how you knew that.
It's not because he's the North Carolina state record holder. It's because he legitimately has a bobblehead of himself. And they're on his
Really?
He is top notch.
Oh, man. That's awesome.
Well, something like that. Look, we were actually before I went live. So like here it is, man. Like here, look, check this out.
I'm not lying.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, man. So anyway, that's a long story about the bobbleheads. Okay, it started off as a joke, and next thing you know, there's a pallet of bobbleheads in my driveway. Okay, so
Oh my God.
Oh, that's amazing.
But it turned out pretty good, man. So actually, like with the bobblehead, it's of course it's in the package still, obviously, but I'm actually holding a flathead catfish, like this, and that's actually a replica picture. So I actually have the picture from a tournament that I fished on the Cape Fear River, and to make the bobblehead, you have to submit pictures, whatever you want from your front, back, and both sides. And man, daggone if they didn't turn it into this thing.
That is awesome.
That is.
So yeah, that's a long story.
My wife was actually, I was out there listening to you, and I was trying to get your attention on Tik Tok land, and I was putting in there. I was like, "Oh my God, that's my hero, the Flathead Legend." And so she was actually on your website looking at your bobblehead and your clothing line and stuff like that. So
Now, take it those are for sale.
Yeah, they are. They are. Yeah. So we got 250 of them, and it's kind of once they're gone, they're gone. They're gone. I hope.
Oh, now Dockery's going to know what I'm doing when next time I see him and I walk around him taking pictures.
that's right.
This world
guys,
needs a James Dockery bobblehead. So
That's I think you're right.
Well, we got about almost 60 people in here already. Let's go ahead and run down the list. Say hi to everybody. We got Bugman22, Chris Rombach, Guerrero Bagre. We got member rigging for fatties.
you got to say it right.
That's right.
I know. I almost messed up. Messed up. We got Catfishing for Real, Mark Barnum, The Fish Choppa, member Carolina Catfish, Troy from Real and Virtual Outdoors, Creole Catfishing, Darian King, Sean Abney. I just got a nice message from your other son. Oh, we got Miss Cindy Stokes, Quiet Man Curtis, Parker Pursuits, Bugman22, Little River, Nebraska Wildcats, the Coo Guy, Sonny Parker, LG Bass, Urban DePaid Tourist, J Rev. We got a couple people in here I think came over. They might have actually been listening to you, Tyler, over there on
Well,
TikTok.
I hope so, man. I've recognized some names
impressed.
here, so that's good.
Yeah. We got Rods and Reloads, Pontoon Jody Catfishing. We got member Mark from Catfishing Crappie. We've got Butterflies and Sunshine, Big Bill's Veteran Catfishing, Buck Williams, Get Hooked on D Fishing, also a member, and also my wife. And it looks like I'm at the bottom, there, ladies and gentlemen. Yep, I am down to the bottom. If I missed you, I apologize. This chat does, for some reason, it jumps when you're trying to read the
Hey,
chat.
there's channel member Brian B. Catfishing. I know Chad skipped you, but
I skipped him on purpose.
yeah, I'm not going to skip my buddy Brian.
Well, there you go.
Nathan Hellebush says, "Good evening from Cape Girardeau." He's just down the road from me.
Across the state from me.
And I've got one tournament result that I have from a local club, Whisker City Catfish Club, out of Tanner's Creek on the Ohio River. We got in third place, we got Stith and Collins at 62.6 pounds. Second place, Johnson and Moore at 85.06. And in first place, and Big Fish, Coopers and Broughton at 118.46 and a Big Fish of 50.56.
Nice.
That's a good weight for around here. And they also had an honorable mention, and since tonight is Flathead Tyler night, we had a 48.48 pound flathead caught right here in our local club tournament. That's right.
Very nice.
Awesome. That's awesome. Nice fish.
That is.
Absolutely.
Christian Moore says we're talking to the baddest dude on the planet tonight.
There we go.
Christian, I talk to myself every day.
Oh my God! Don't even start.
That's what I was thinking too, Chad. That's what I was thinking. I was like, we already know this Christian Chad right here.
Well, like I said, I was over there in Tiki Taki world watching you, and I even put, when you said that you were going to be on the Catfish Weekly podcast, when you said that, I said, are you going to be the best angler on the show tonight? And you refused to answer. I noticed you skipped. You read the one above and the one below my comment, and you just kind of kept on moving.
Oh, you ain't falling for those traps. I'm trained, man. I'm trained. You ain't gonna catch it. Absolutely, man.
Well, before you teach us how to become a legendary flathead, bobblehead owning flathead fisherman, how long ago did you catch that there state record?
So the state record, sorry, everything's like backwards. If I move to the left, it moves to, anyway.
It is backwards.
So I landed this fish July 20th, 2020. So a little over 3 years ago now.
Wow.
Yep. So that fish weighed in at 78.9 pounds. The previous state record held for 15 years, and it was the 78-pound flathead even. So it took 15 years to break the record from any standpoint, but and I got lucky enough to do it by just 0.9 pounds. So it's
wow.
Very, very. Could you imagine? You got a fish in the boat, and you know what the record is, and your scale's like all over it, and I'm like dry heaving because I'm so nervous that I'm not gonna have it, and I'm panicking. I don't know what to do. It was crazy. It was crazy, but got blessed, got it certified, and definitely a trip that I'll never forget.
Cool.
Get hooked on D Fish and D saying flatheads are the king of catfish. Awesome fish, Tyler.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Oh,
appreciate you.
There's James Dockery with our first question there. He said he wants to know if he needs a new boat to catch more and bigger fish.
Probably not. I would just get on the boat with Chad, and you'll probably catch all the fish you need. Yeah.
I wasn't even going to say it. I mean,
Chad, you're very humble, but I'm gonna be realistic with everybody in here tonight. I mean, you got too much, legendary status to just let it just slide by. So we're gonna take care of that.
Oh my God!
Oh wow!
This is my most favorite guest of all time.
I'll bet so.
I just speak the truth, man. I see it like it is.
Dockery said he's not getting on a boat with Chad, so
I'm just going to let him keep talking. I'm just going to sit back and listen.
That's right. It's over now. We got it. Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Hey, welcome, Dan.
Oh, Lord have mercy. That's funny. So where all do you fish? You're in North Carolina, obviously, but I know you said something about Cape Fear earlier, and what other kind of fisheries you got going on there?
So the bodies of water that I fish and that I've always fished my whole entire life have always been these shallower rivers. Okay, so it could be the Noosh River, Cape Fear River, Tar River, PD River, and so on. But we've got, I've ventured out to like the Chowan and stuff like that too. But the primary rivers that I typically fish would be the Noosh, the Cape Fear, and the Tar.
Okay.
Yep. So the rivers are kind of structured the same. In a way, certain sections of river change. Like the lower half of a river could be formatted a little bit different than the upper half, and how the structure on the bottoms can just vary throughout the river. So, but for the most part, these rivers are pretty much built somewhat very similar. So like tactics and strategies and stuff that I've used growing up on the Noose River, I've been able to apply those skills and those tactics and memories to new bodies of water. So as I started out on the Noose River catfishing, venturing out to the Tar River and to the Cape Fear River, realizing that, hey, these fish are doing the same thing on each body of water. So it's kind of, it kind of got addicting to travel around and fish different tournament circuits and try to be competitive all around the board. But anything besides shallow rivers, I'm not really like a lake fisherman. So I'm getting into that tidal waters. I want to start learning in, those just larger bodies of water. I've been fishing the shallow rivers for my whole life, essentially, and I'm kind of wanting to start venturing off and expanding my knowledge on different kinds of bodies of water.
When you say shallow rivers, what do you mean? What is a shallow river to you versus, something like the mighty Ohio?
So like the Noose River right now, I'm talking you got a foot or two on average right now.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, so the Noose River right now, if I was to launch at pretty much any boat ramp, you're looking at actually a very hard time getting your boat off the trailer. So it's super shallow.
Yeah.
You can walk across the river in many, 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 many spots. But this is just abnormally dry right now, so it's typically not this horrible. But even on an average level, it's still anywhere between 2 and 4 feet on average.
That is some very shallow water.
That
Yeah.
is.
That is.
But don't think you have the market quartered on low water. It's very, very low around here in all the lakes and rivers and stuff that we have too. Sonny Parker wants to know what's your go-to bait for flathead.
So that's such a great question, and to be completely honest, fishing for flathead catfish in all of these rivers and what's up, Rhonda? But all of these, it depends on so many factors, man. It can depend on the time of year, the water temperature. Man, there's so many variables, but overall, I wouldn't say that there is a go-to bait, but pretty much if I'm targeting flatheads, I'm looking for brim. I'll be using brim, eel, and shad pretty much all the time. Okay, and then if there's any other, different states have different laws as far as game fish too, but so that varies per state. But pretty much for me, if I'm going catfish and I'm targeting flatheads, I'm going to have live eel, and I'm going to have brim in the boat just about every
Live
single
eel.
time. Yep, live eels.
That'd be wild.
So
That's a little snaky for me.
Really? So so like live eel here is a absolutely insanely good bait to have. Like it has saved me in tournaments numerous times. So it's eel there every time I'm out on the water, I'm gonna try to have some eel with me if possible. Absolutely.
Now, are they hard to keep alive, or they stay alive pretty easy, or?
So eel is very, very easy. I mean, you can pretty much take an eel and throw it in the highway, and he'll probably live for 3 days. He's like indestructible.
Pretty hardy, aren't they?
Yeah, a
Yeah.
little hardy. I would say a little hardy, but eel, pretty much you can take your eels and you can put them in a 5-gallon bucket with an aerator, and man, they can live forever. But something that I like to do, so eels, they're real slippery, they're real slimy, they're hard to grab, they're just hard to deal with, kind of aggravating. So a way to offset that for me is to actually just take the eels and put them on ice. And what'll happen is their metabolism will really, really slow down, and they'll get lethargic. They're still alive, but you can handle them and do whatever you like to with them at that point. So if they're pretty much their metabolism slow and you want to put a hook through them, you can handle them as soon as it hits the water. 15 seconds later, it's like he was never frozen. So
Frogs are like that too.
frogs, okay,
Frogs.
yeah, that's right, that's right.
You catch frogs for channel cats, and you put them on ice, and they're real easy to handle until they thaw out.
Okay, yeah, that's right. So like, but yeah, even with the eels, I mean, you can take a cooler of ice, put your eels in there, and when the ice thaws, you have water, right? And they're just as lively as that.
Oh wow.
Eventually, they adapt to it. They'll adapt, and they'll live in anything. They'll live in anything.
I got this. James Dockery Fishing wants to know what size bait live well does Tyler have, and can he keep bluegill alive longer than 2 hours? Asking for a friend.
Yep. So James, so that's a really good question. Yeah. So I fish out of a Sea Arc 2072 tunnel hole jet drive boat, and I had in this model boat, a 40-gallon live well was built in it from the factory. Okay, well, I had that cut out, and I integrated a 93-gallon live well where the 40-gallon used to be. So I changed it from a 40 to a 93-gallon, which is also my tournament live well. So to answer your question, I can put in North Carolina, your limit in brim is 30 brim per person. So if it's me and a partner, we can have 60 brim, and I can easily keep 60 brim alive in my live well for, you know, 2 or 3 days, pretty much.
Really, that long? Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So the secret to keeping your brim alive for a long time, like now, there's some guys that have giant tanks and can hold fish and shad and stuff. But for what I have for a live well, some essential things that I like to use is obviously use the same type of water that you caught the brim in, and put that into your live well. Or if you got well water at the house like I do, I have well waters. But if you got city water, it's got a little chlorine and it can affect the fish.
Mhm.
But for me, I'll put well water or the water from the river in the live well. And then I've got my aerator pumps. I got two 50-gallon Frabble, whatever you want to call it, pumps that run into with two big air stones. I keep the water circulating. I also will add ice to the water to keep it cold. That'll also slow the metabolism down of the brim and keep them lively longer, and add products in there like G juice or better bait. And if it's done properly and the water's cool, those fish are calm and relaxed, and they'll actually live for a very long time.
Well, okay, so if less than 60 bluegill in a very, very big live well, tournament catfish live well, die in like 2 hours, you probably didn't do something right, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. The number one thing that I see, a lot of anglers locally, to say, man, why's my bait keep dying? Why's my bait keep dying? It's definitely the water itself. Like I said, if you're using water from your house and it's got chlorine in it, that's okay. But adding things like G juice, better bait,
Yeah.
we'll take the chlorine out of the water. It kills the ammonia in the water and everything else. So a lot of times that people that hold bait for a while, the water actually just becomes toxic very quickly. The water may be too warm, which causes more stress, low oxygen in the water. There's just a lot of variables that can kill the bait, but you should easily, you know, you should easily be able to keep 30 brim alive at least long enough throughout the day. So if you catch them in the morning and your tournament is that night, following the steps that I just said, there should be absolutely no problem with your bait. Absolutely not.
So they should survive like a 6-hour car ride.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah. Absolutely, man.
If you want to keep
just-
bluegill alive, you keep James Dockery's little pecker pinchers off of him.
We're
That will
just
help.
asking for a friend
We're
for
just
future
asking for a
reference.
buddy here. So
Yeah.
I do want to go back to the eel though. So you don't have an issue with the eel, just the live eel wrapping around the lines and being all
So,
goofy? That's
so yeah.
interesting.
So that's actually a really good question. So there's a couple ways to offset that particular thing. So a lot of times people will say, man, Tyler, you know, I took an eel, I put him on the hook, I threw him out, he come in back into a polymer knot. He looked like a polymer knot. And he's like, man, like, dude, you know, like why does this keep happening? Well, something that I found out, it can depend on how you hook the eel. Okay, so a technique that I like to do is you got your eel, and you'll notice if you watch your eel and how he moves, he'll use the tip of his tail to grab and maneuver and find things a lot of times. So if you cut about this much of the tip of the tail off, he can't grab. Okay, he uses that to
Really?
grab your line and start twisting, and they're like escape artists. Okay, like they're like the craziest things you ever see, man. I'm telling you. But and you know, you can also just take your eel and hook him from the bottom lip through the top, and that'll also allow him to swim more naturally, which may help with that situation as well.
Yeah. Parker Pursuits wants to know what size eel are you typically using?
So Parker, as far as the eels, if I'm using them live, you know, something like the thickness of maybe a nickel up to a quarter, and you know, maybe 9, 10, 12 inches long, just depending on what it is. But if I'm cutting eel up for bait, the bigger the eel, the better. So I'm talking, you can get some Mondo eels, you know, some really big eels, and I like to cut them up in little inch pieces, and I call those pork chops. Okay, just my pork chop eels.
Oh, Get Hooked on Deep Fishing's sharing out your link to where they can check out your bobblehead.
Well, appreciate it. So here's the bobblehead, you know. So just
That's still awesome.
That is awesome.
Great.
so obviously it's in the box. I wish I had one open. I can take this one open if we need to, but anyway, yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate you sharing out the website.
And it's still taller than James Dockery.
Come on, man.
Oh wow.
Well, it's taller than James Dockery. It's taller than Lyle. So
No, it's not.
at least by about 1/8 of an inch. But that's a different story. This is about Tyler.
So Tyler, have you got a favorite style rig to use when you're targeting flatheads? Are you bobber fishing or Carolina or?
You know, I've got one sitting over here. Hold on.
I was hoping he might.
Be prepared. That's my motto.
Yep.
Okay. So me personally, okay, there is a tremendous amount of rigs out there, okay? There's so many types of accessories and things that you can add to your rigs and this and that. Me, I keep it very, very basic, okay? Just a traditional sinker slider rig, fish finder rig, same thing. So what I'm using here, for example, this is a 10-aught Daiichi offset circle hook with a snail knot. There we go. Oh, that's pretty cool. With a snail knot. This is 100-pound heavy cover leader line by Catch the Fever. It comes down right here to your crimp with a stainless steel barrel swivel. Okay, so that is my rig, and then of course I don't have any in here, but you'll have your sinker slider that you put on your main line first, and then you tie on your rig here. Now this is about an 18-inch rig, okay, and something that I find is super important now is the offset in your hook. In my opinion, and this is my opinion, some people will say, you know, Tyler, an inline hook will catch just as many fish, and you are so correct. That is so true. But from my experience, I like to look at statistically everything that I've done over the years that will help me hook up or land fish better. Even if this hooks up 5% better than an inline hook, that's still 5%. That, and then by the time you do that all across the board, you have created a tactic that is bulletproof for you. And as long as you're, as an angler, it doesn't matter what Tyler uses or that guy, as long as you're on water and you are confident with your gear and your equipment, that's what matters. Don't just say, well, Tyler uses this, let's use that. That is not. You can put whatever you want on these things. You can put rattles, demon dragons, floats, whatever you would like. Now, this is simple. I like to take my brim, put my brim on the hook. That's it. Throw it out there. Sinker slider rig. That works for me. However, I'll take this same style of rig in the winter months, such as now, and I will add a peg float, a 3-inch peg float about this far from the hook. The closer your peg float is, the more it lifts your bait off the bottom. Now, I only throw peg floats when I am using cut bait for blues, like cut pieces of gizzard shad or cut pieces of eel. I do really think that bait being lifted, so if this is your weight, that bait being lifted or elevated off of the bottom definitely, in my opinion, can add, going back to those percentages that we talked about, it could make a 10% difference. And it just presents it to blue catfish a little better. But I never throw a live brim with a float. It just gets tangled up. The fish don't act natural. It's when you're targeting flatheads, I definitely like to keep everything as realistic as possible, because you got to think, I'm catching these fish 2 feet of water, 3 feet of water. I don't need nothing floating up. I need this on the bottom. I need this brim to kind of move around in distress, and let the flathead like this one right here do its thing. But yep. So that's a great question. That's the rig that I use. Very basic. I like these hooks. I like the Charlie Brown 9/0 circle hooks as well. Thing about the Charlie Browns, they do not come offset. If you have a hook that's not offset, you can take a pair of pliers, grab here, and just bend it. I've done it forever. It doesn't really weaken the hook or anything like that. But but yeah, that's my rig. Absolutely great question. Great question.
Awesome. Thank you, Tyler. Appreciate that one.
There's another good question.
Yep.
Do you keep a fishing journal? If so, what information do you record?
That is a definite yes right there.
That's a definite yes.
So, yeah. So, like, for example, so this is my second notebook, okay? So, but I'm going to tell you something about doing that, okay? And I've quit. I quit doing that. I used to be a fanatic of going on excessive amounts of trips and studying, like, the trip, the weather, the barometric pressure, the moon phase, the water temp. How, was it rising? Was it falling? Like, pretty much things that I would look at is the weather. I would write a brief description. Hey, it was partly cloudy, 75 degrees. What was the barometric pressure like? I would write that. Was it rising, falling, stable? What kind of bait did I use? What's the water level? What water temp? How many fish did I catch that day? How big were they? What wind? Was the wind blowing? What was the moon phase? Okay, that's a big deal. And then I would also have a section here for notes. And in the notes section, I would put things that I might needed to dial in on, or I would note where I caught fish more that day. Were they in bins? Were they on the flats? What time did I catch them? Just so many variables. But I'm gonna tell you something. I quit doing it. Out of the notes that I've taken for 5 years, every trip, the only thing that I could pattern out that I'm confident in saying is moon phase makes a big difference. The moon for me, now I don't know why. I don't know if it is. I don't know. The new moon is so important for me, especially in the summer months. The fuller the moon, the worse the fishing is for me. Or I may catch more fish, but they're small. They're not as noticeably. I have written this down and have seen a absolute difference between the full and the new moon. Now, you can still catch large fish on a full moon. Absolutely. I'm not saying that. But on the full moon, typically more action, smaller fish. On the full moon, on the new moon, bigger fish, but not as many. It might be a slower bite, but that's me. But the reason I quit taking notes now, if you're fishing a lake or something like that, something that can be stable all year, I think that could be a good idea. Absolutely. But for a river that's 200 miles long, that is heavily driven by current and the time of year, you've got shad running up the river to spawn. Well, okay, in February and March when the shad are coming up the river, was the river at flood stage, and these fish could scoot on up and really separate the blues and have them kind of congregated in different areas, or when the shad came, it was a foot deep. Like, there's so many variables that play in fish location, and the key thing is to go fishing and just find what works best for you, and just until you can find a pattern that you think fits you. But there is no secret in the notebook. Absolutely not.
Oh,
Mark
we're gonna
Bonham's
have
got
to.
a real good question there. He's asking if is that moon because of the depth of your water and the fish being light sensitive. I've always heard that about flathead, that they are very sensitive to light. So
Okay. All right. So Mark, yeah, I think light sensitivity is the main thing. I think they are out of their comfort zone. I think these fish are out of their comfort zone when they can see light. And sometimes the moon, man, can be so excruciatingly bright that it can be like daylight out on the boat, some so it's like,
Yeah.
I think that plays a factor, but ultimately, I'm not a scientist. I can't tell you. All I can tell you is what my notebook says and what I've experienced. Matter of fact, 2020, 2020, this fish behind me was caught on a new moon. I actually took off work to make sure that I could fish that night because it was the perfect scenario for a big fish. And guess what? I caught two fish, a channel about this long, and then this one. Oh, that was it. That was it. But I caught this fish at 12:30, and I had a heart attack, and then I went to the ramp anyway. So, but
Well, I'm just noticing that today's the new moon.
yeah, well, yeah, it is actually. It is,
I'm about to.
and yesterday, and another thing, I don't know if this makes a difference or not, but the day, to put a little bit more into the moon phase, I went the night before I caught this fish and also caught a 53. So knowing I ain't gonna say just the new moon, but any time in that phrase, like 5 or 6 days of pure darkness, pure dark. I think the darker it is, the better. That's just me.
I agree.
So, but that's hard. That's hard to really nail in. That is such a hard. It's just what I can tell you. Just my opinion. Just my opinion.
you've got the fish to back it up, so we're going to listen to you. So,
I would say, yeah.
I mean,
That's a fact.
oh, come back here. That one from Creel. Do you have any advice for daytime flathead fishing?
Yeah, if you're gonna daytime flathead fish, which is absolutely a thing, okay, that's absolutely possible. Depends on your body of water and where you're fishing. So, for example, the Neuse River where I'm fishing in the day, I'm going to be targeting pretty much the deepest areas that I can find near the shallow water. Okay, at nighttime I may flip that and I'm gonna stay away from the deep water. I'm gonna start hitting the more shallow flats, shallow log jams, because we talked about earlier what's the average depth. What average depth may be 2 to 3 or 4 foot, but that doesn't mean there still ain't 10 to 12 foot holes, curves, things like that. But yeah, pretty much in the daytime. Now in the winter months, you can. So in the winter months, it depends when you want to target them, but in February, towards the end of February, the middle of March, into to the end of March, you can absolutely catch flatheads in the daytime. Absolutely, 100% in the daytime. I would target deepest water that you can find. And a lot of times when you find one flathead in that hole, there could be more because they'll kind of pile in.
So I take it that the flatheads don't go dormant where you're at.
Well, they do. Now, they do. They absolutely do. So here, they'll go dormant, but they'll still feed. 100%. I have caught flatheads all year round, any month. Now, it doesn't mean I go particularly, like target flatheads in December. Pretty much after the middle of November here, I'll pretty much hang up flathead fishing, but I still catch them, trying to catch blue catfish. So that definitely, if you throw it within a parameter of this fish, within range of him, he'll still hit it. Absolutely.
So your what's your water temperature in the wintertime then? Let me go that way at it.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, so that can make a huge difference. So yeah, the water temp here, the lowest it really gets, I would say 45,
Yeah.
low 40, 42. But now if you're getting into the 20s and freezing over, okay, now I'm not used to that. So I don't know.
Well, when it gets cold here where I live and they go dormant, you could put bait right on their head and it'll stay there for 3 or 4 days and they won't touch it.
You just grab them and hold them up for a picture, and he's still.
They're not eating nothing. The only way you catch them at that point is you're snagging them. They just don't bite. They don't feed because they just lay there for a couple of months. But we're talking about surface temperature below 30 degrees a lot of times, and it might not freeze because the water moving.
Correct. Yeah. The hardest month here would be January. The whole month of January through the middle of February. That's when it is very hard to catch them, but it can still be done. I've caught some really good flatheads in February. Not saying I meant to, but they were there.
But if you wanted to, you could target them and maybe pick one up once in a while.
I think so. I think if if I woke up and it was January and it was 30 degrees outside and I said, you know what, I'm gonna try to catch a flathead, I think I got a shot at it. Yeah, I think so. I ain't gonna say I can guarantee it, but I think there's a good.
That's wonderful.
There's a chance.
Because Josh and I agree, you're not going to do that here.
No, it's not happening. It's not happening at home. So.
They just freeze up.
It's just it's that much colder, I think.
Yeah, it makes a huge. I mean, like just like me, it's 70 degrees in the house, but if it was 60, probably have a hoodie on. So it'd be a little colder.
That's right. That's a great analogy, though.
Right. So they ain't got nothing to cover up with. All they know to do is freeze and just lay there until the spring.
Mm-hmm. Right. Chrissy Brown has joined us in chat.
Hey, Chrissy.
Sorry, I knew y'all was going to go quiet. I actually have a question.
We've been teetering around that 100 mark all night.
I know.
Annette has joined us.
All right. So I got the toughest question because I need your help, Tyler.
All right, let me have it.
Well, he does need your help too. I promise
he needs help.
He does need help.
We've already given you help on keeping bluegill alive longer than 2 hours, so hush. All right, Tyler. So I want to break the Kentucky state record flathead. It's only 97 pounds. What advice can you give me in the mighty Ohio? Because I know it's going to come from the mighty Ohio because it's like one of the best fisheries in the U.S. Probably better than in Mississippi. What should I target and how should I go at this? I need your help. You are the legend. You have a bobblehead and everything.
Oh well, I don't know about the bobblehead or the legend status or even the Ohio River. But what? Here's something. Here's something that I can tell you. From my opinion, I don't think there is such thing as a secret spot at all. There's not a secret spot. Now this is me speaking where I fish. Now, like there are spots that consistently hold larger fish, but there are also spots that people don't think about fishing that hold just as big fish, but it doesn't look like much. For a great example, this fish right here was caught in 3.5 foot of water in a spot that I've never fished in my life.
Really?
Oh wow.
Pure mir-
What made
pure
what
mir-
made you choose that?
I'll tell you what happened. I fished my first hole. Okay, I started off deep. It was like 10 foot. Okay, I call that deep. That probably ain't nothing for y'all. But I call it, it was a deep spot, 10 foot. As the sun was coming down, I was trying to catch a fish leaving maybe the deep, lurking into the shallows. However, caught a channel cat there. So then I hit a couple more spots, and I was like, well, you know, nothing, I said, well, it's a slow night. I know it's the new moon. I'm just thinking, I'm like, okay, I got this spot in my mind. Let's go to this spot, and I'm by myself, okay? I'm just talking to myself out here on the boat. I do that a lot. So, no joke. I'm going down the river, wide open. It's dark. I'm just going. I got my light bars on the front of the boat. And I noticed this little tree that had fell over. And it looked relatively new. And I was like, I've never noticed that. And I said, I was just looking, so, well, I'm worried about that. We're going to keep going. But I had this overbearing urge, like, turn around, like, go hit this tree. So a couple more miles, I was going down the river. It hit me again. I was like, man, do I really have to go? So it kept telling me, go do it. Go do it. Turned my boat around. I said I hit it for 30 minutes. Turned around, went back to the little tree. I said, man, there ain't nothing here. It's just this tree, man. What's the deal? There's nothing here. It's just a tree. I said, well, I'll feel better knowing that I hit it. Throwed out a big
You feel a
shell
lot
cracker.
better now, right?
Yeah, I think so. A little bit. So I had a really big shell cracker, like a Mondo shell cracker that I had used in some previous spots, and he was still had some life. I said, well, he'll be good for this spot. Throwed him out. Got on the phone with a buddy of mine. I was like, hey man, my rods are sitting still, and all of a sudden that one rod it just thump, and it starts rocking. It just starts rocking. And I said, okay. I said, hey man, let me let you go. I said, I think I got one on. Well, he started going down, 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 down. And something that was unique about this is I actually decided to drift past this tree and throw up river at this tree. Now that's a tactic that I actually do a lot because on the backside, flatheads do not like current. On the backside, it creates a current break, and it can, that little bit of current break can make a difference. Sometimes throwing in front of the log jam when the river is really running can make a difference. So throwing on the backside where he's probably out of current, I think can entice the fish to bite more, but that's another story. But he started going down with it. I did an artificial hook sweep because imagine using circle hooks, I'm not able to let him go with it. I've actually got to pick the rod up, let him go, and then sweep into him. Well, when I did, he let me know he was the man. So anyway, fought him and got him into the boat right by myself, man. But that just going, that's a whole 30-minute story I could tell you. But that's hey, I explain things on the country boy level. Yes. Hey man,
That's a good thing.
Look,
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep it real with you. I'm just a guy that's gone fishing, and look, catching a state record fish, and it's not because I was good. Man, I got lucky. I mean, I just got really lucky. I've caught a bunch of fish. I've targeted flatheads my whole life,
Yeah.
but I got lucky. Man, catching a state record is luck, but the feeling, I don't want to say I'm crazy, but I'm telling you, I had a feeling that I couldn't describe. It was meant to be, and that's all I can tell you. That's all I can tell you.
Mm-hmm.
It was
I
just
have
there.
I have a question for you, but I want to go about it in a roundabout way.
Okay.
Would you agree that flatheads mainly relate to structure of some sort?
Absolutely.
What's your favorite type of structure to chase them on?
So as far as structure, depending on the river. But a key thing for me, especially on the Cape Fear, speaking as far as structure goes, is a ledge. On the Cape Fear, a ledge creates the ultimate current break for these flatheads. So if the water's elevated and you're anchored up on a ledge, okay, you're anchored up on a ledge, but my boat's here, but whenever I throw out the back, sorry, my camera's backwards when I do stuff. There's a ledge, okay, it goes down. Well, I'm anchored here, throwing into the ledge, into the bottom of the ledge, okay. And while the current is rolling past the top, these flatheads are very comfortable at the bottom, and they do not necessarily have to be on any kind of debris, any kind of cover. As long as there's that ledge, that structure, we're good. But as far as cover is concerned, big laid over trees is always going to be just a perfect specimen to hit. Big laid over trees, man. But if the, like I said, if the water's elevated and it's moving, they're going to come out of these trees. They're going to kind of go into anywhere that's a little calmer. But it also depends on how high the water actually is. It can be pretty good current, but they'll still hunker down. Or is it ripping like flood stage? That's going to move the fish around. Creek mouths, ledges, eddies, holes inside of bends, in the flats. I mean, it could be so many variables. Yeah.
Yeah, I like old wood.
Yeah, old wood, man.
The older, the longer it's been laying there, the better I like.
Yep, and I agree. I've always said, except for this example here, but the biggest and baddest holes, log jams, always have a good fish somewhere. Now, you may fish that spot 5 times before you grab him, but he's in there at some point.
That's right. That is correct. Well, that's a great answer to that question.
Mm.
Let's see.
What else we got going in chat, fellas?
Parker says he's a big believer in that gut feeling will change plans if he gets that feeling. Dylan Wegrich said, may sound crazy, but that's the same way I got my last 2 PBs.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Sonny Parker says his neighbor is the Nebraska state record flathead holder, 89 pounds.
Wow. That's a monster.
That is a big one.
Daggone right.
That's a big one.
One of these days, Josh, we'll go somewhere that. Hey, Gidget.
We never see Gidget.
I know.
But something I can, I would like to encourage people to do. Like I said, and I don't want anybody to think that I think like I'm some kind of professional or something like that. Listen, I just go a lot and I've got some experience. But something I would encourage everybody to do is I would love to get a follow from everybody on TikTok, because what I'm starting to do now, what I've been doing since January, is I actually go catfishing live on TikTok as much as possible. I'll even go when I pleasure fish, when I'm actually fishing the tournament. I'll go live 9-12 hours straight fishing the tournament, showing you guys what I'm fishing, what I'm doing. I take you guys to the weigh-in with me. I'll set up the tripod. We'll talk to people. We'll set it up, show you guys how we did it in the tournament and how everybody else did. And I try to make it a very game-changing, realistic experience and pretty much some live entertainment that I think everybody can benefit from.
I've been in there a few times.
Krill Catfishing says there's such a thing as too deep. Most of my old wood structure is in holes that are 100 foot deep and over. Should I be looking shallower?
Me, I'm not used to 100 feet of water. So just going to put that out there. But for me, I highly recommend going much, much shallower, especially in the spring. Now, I'm not saying, in the dead of winter, you may want to start hitting these deep holes. We don't even have holes like that. I'll catch them in, way, way downriver on the noose and stuff. You may hit a 30 feet, 40 feet or something every once in a while, maybe just a selective spot. But when the springtime comes, I don't know how it is on these other bodies of water across the country, but where I am in eastern North Carolina, these fish will, once they start to wake up and that water temperature gets them moving and the shad start coming and it gets their senses going and they start moving, they will absolutely start lurking from the deep holes on into as little as 2 feet. If I was you, especially in the springtime, I would maybe look at some submerged cover, anywhere between 3 to 10 feet into spawn. That's me. I don't know how it is everywhere else, but in the spring, if I'm fishing much over 5 foot, I'm probably wasting my time. These fish are in the shallows, man. They'll be so shallow, it's amazing. 3.5 foot.
That's
Three and a
crazy.
half foot.
It's just crazy. That is crazy that they are up that shallow.
And they'll
Oh, yeah.
and they'll
That's
be
where the
comfortable.
bait's at. That's where the gills, the shad, and all that's at. They're up there eating.
And once, like, there's so many people in here, and you know that, and I'm the same way, or I used to be. I would always say, man, you got to fish a deep hole to catch them fish. Man, the catfish are in the deep spots. Man, I encourage anybody in here that's been hitting deep a lot with no success, I would encourage you to go on a trip and fish any kind of cover, log jams, stumps, something. And I would encourage you to try things as little as 2.5, 3 feet. I think you'll be very surprised what you'll pull out of 2 foot.
And the numbers.
I've caught 50-pound flatheads with their dorsal fin cruising. You'll see the weight going, and you're like, "Oh man, what is that? Oh no, he's got my bait. He's got it like a shark, man."
That's awesome.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Hey, Stan.
Stay.
To Stan.
Talked with Tyler at the start of the James River tournament in September. Great guy, great combo. I probably could have sat there and talked to him all day. Man, I appreciate you, man. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
So Tyler,
We'll have to
somebody
link
said
up.
it in chat earlier, and I didn't catch the comment. It got away from me. They mentioned something you're going to start traveling next year.
Yeah.
I saw that. Yeah.
So the noose. So I have fished here, like I said, my whole life. I've ran series here before for a couple years. I found out that's not up my alley. Is actually running a series. So I dropped that pretty quick. That's just very time consuming. It takes a lot to really put on something very well organized and successful. So all tournament directors, if there's anybody in here, hey, shout out to you, proud of you, keep doing anything I'm pulling for you. But I have fished, like I said, the Noose and the Cape Fear River for so long. I have won several championship point series. I feel like, as an angler, the home bodies of water are not making me any better at this point as an angler. So I've made a commitment to leave, not permanently, but I'm not chasing any point series or anything like that locally. I'm dropping all those, and I want to start venturing out and learning and competing with different anglers across the country. Some bodies of water that I'd really like to start dialing in on a little bit is obviously closer. I'm not going to say I'm just going to go to jump out the Mississippi River 9 hours away or however long it is. But the James River is definitely a target. Kerr Lake and Santee Cooper would be my 3 that I really would like to dial in on. But of course, I'm going to branch out and go other places as well.
Chad, Chrissy wants to know where she can get one of those awesome Catfish Weekly shirts at.
I will drop it right here in the chat. You can go to my Teespring. That's where we have these awesome Catfish Weekly shirts and Fields to Water shirts, and I think we even have some Dockery Angry Face shirts from like
That's
years
what
ago.
I need. I need a Dockery shirt.
That's what I need, but I need a short one.
But there's all kinds of stuff over there. You guys can go check those out.
Mine would be a belly shirt if I got one short as Dockery.
Maybe I can get me a belt that just says I've had it up to here with Dockery.
Yeah, that's it.
Excuse me.
Oh man. That's
Tyler, are you going to be a guest speaker at the Catfish Conference?
Yeah,
This year?
absolutely. Yes, sir. So, Mr. Steve Douglas, he reached out to me shortly after last year's Catfish Conference and asked me if I'd like to do a catfishing seminar this coming up February in Louisville, Kentucky. And absolutely, I would love to. But when I go do this seminar, I'm not going to bore somebody for 2 hours. Okay, it's going to be some very key things that I think have been game changing and have helped me, and I'm gonna relay that to everybody listening. So that's my thing. I could sit here and talk about, man, you got to have this hook and sit here at this time and move here and throw this bait because he wants this, and nobody would learn nothing. Okay, nobody would learn a thing. But me, I'm gonna have some key things that I'm gonna talk about for a short amount of time, and that I want the most. I'm gonna give away the most important things that's helped me, because there is some things that have that I may do that other anglers around me may or may not do that has substantially increased my ability to put more fish in the boat.
Good deal.
the fish
The fish
chopper
chopper.
says so it's better if for flatheads in the river or lakes.
Yes.
So fish chopper. So as far as is it better to target flatheads in the river or lakes? I am a believer that you can catch them in both, but rivers. Yeah, I think even Kerr Lake, for example. Kerr Lake has the Dan River and the Staunton River in there. Well, guess what? Those flatheads probably are going to migrate. Yeah, I don't know a lot about the lakes. But if they have rivers joining in, I'm gonna be a guy that tells you go up the lakes. I'm sorry, go up the rivers and find these same scenarios that I'm talking about. Shallow cover log jams in the river. Now, when it gets colder, I think there's a high probability that these fish will migrate back down into the lakes where it's a little deeper and calmer out of the current until the following season. Yeah, I would stick to the rivers. Yep,
Let's see.
that's my opinion.
Curtis Cunningham would like to know, so do they have tournaments that are just flathead tournaments, or are you chasing all three species when you hit the road?
So I'm gonna chase all three species depending on what the tournament is. Most catfishing tournaments are, depending on the state, you may can have one over this 32 inches and then one under. That may be the rules. Some tournaments may be 2 fish only, no size limit. It could be 3 fish. Like locally where we fish, it's a 3 fish limit. There's no weight. You can weigh in any species. Sometimes there are tournaments that just target a certain species. It could be a flathead only tournament. It solely depends on the director and what he chooses to do.
See, thought we had another question in there that caught my eye. I'll see if I can find it.
Dee said you almost got her talked into downloading TikTok, but she just can't do it.
Just can't do it. Let's see.
Don't worry, Tyler. I'll send her the links to the TikTokies.
River Outdoor Apparel. Tyler, how soon would you expect there to be a new North Carolina state record for flathead and blue cat?
I think the state record blue cat could be broken at any time, anywhere. I think it can be broken at any time, anywhere. Blue cat fish, they get so large and there's so many impressive bodies of water in North Carolina that they could grow to just outrageous sizes. I think it could be broke at any time. The flathead, it could also be broke at any time, but I hope it's not broke for a while. But I will say statistically, I think I'll hold it for a long time. I would like to say that, and here's why. You look at all the anglers in North Carolina, You look at all the catfishing tournaments in North Carolina. You look at the people that are, I mean, grinding on a weekly basis out there on the water. And it took 15 years for all of the anglers all over the state on every body of water to get lucky and catch the flathead. And I got lucky enough to do that, and I only broke it by, you know, 0.9 pounds. I mean, it's, you know, it
Mhm.
was lucky when I did it, and it took.
Don't matter if it's
15
this
years.
much or that much.
Yep,
That's
it's
right.
That's right.
But it could happen tomorrow. I could get a phone call and say, "Man, Tyler, you got whooped," and I'm gonna go shake that person's hand and make sure I get a picture with them and congratulate
Absolutely.
that person, because it's such a, it's nothing to be mad about. It's something to be very happy for that person. Absolutely, because that's an achievement that you know, it really changed my life as far
Mhm.
as catfishing and being
Yeah.
put on the map. Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
have another question for you.
Oh, go ahead, Lyle.
Go ahead, Chad.
No, I was going to say that I would be extremely happy for anybody that breaks the Kentucky state record flathead or blue cat, as long as they weren't from Ohio, Illinois, or Indiana, and they were coming over into my state and stealing my fish like they do.
There we go.
Chad,
That's
the
enough of
record's
that.
all yours.
Do you think that commercial fishing has a big bearing on the number of flatheads being caught, like it does blue catfish?
We don't really have a whole lot of that here in North Carolina. So I think, and I don't know the rules and the regulations of the commercial fishing per state, or if there is a limit on how many pounds that they can keep, or is it all they can keep. That I don't know. But what I can say, as far as commercial fishing goes, you know, there's bad and there's probably good too, because you know, there is a lot of bodies of water that have an absolute overpopulation of small blue catfish, and the more catfish per square mile, you know, in that body of water it can definitely affect the growth overall, because you've got more fish feeding on more bait, more competition, which hurts larger fish. It hurts their ability to get larger. So,
Hey, Aries.
in my opinion, you know, a fish is a fish, and it's gonna pass away at some point. They're not immortal. I don't care how many times we
Right.
CPR. CPR is super important. Absolutely, 100%. I'm definitely a supporter of CPR. But if the body of water is saturated to unbelievable levels of catfish, it make by the time the fish is old, I mean, a fish could be 30 years old and then be 60 pounds and die because it didn't have the food resources. Like, there's just so many variables. Of course, I'm not gonna bash a commercial fisherman, because that's how they make their money and that's their livelihood. If they catch like a mondo catfish, I would love for them to put it back or something, you know. But what you want
There is ones
Yeah.
that do.
that's
There
right.
are ones that do. Now, the majority of them don't. But I happen to know a guy that has commercial fishing license, and he basically catches fish for people that he knows and sells them to them dressed and ready to go. But if he catches a big fish, he puts them back, because he also is a tournament fisherman, and he understands how important the resources are. But there's a lot of them that don't, and we deal with them on the Mississippi River all the time. Now, in Missouri, you can't commercial fish the Missouri River, but in other states, I'm not sure whether you can or not. But I just, I wasn't sure if you had an influx of that going on out there or not. But if they have to play by the same rules as everybody else, and if they would make it where there's a slot and unders and overs, and you could only harvest 2 a day, and it should pertain to everybody, then I think that it would be a golden rule.
Well, I'll tell you this, and I'll tell you this. So I'm good friends with the biologists here. Well, not all the biologists, but a few biologists here in North Carolina. I've taken them fishing. We've actually done podcasts together as well, and they would ask me questions such as, Tyler, you know, do you think the river needs I'm honest, okay? And you know, there's gonna be cat fishermen that's jump down my neck and say, Tyler, I can't believe you're a traitor or whatever. But when the biologist says, Tyler, do you think there needs to be, now this is me, okay? This is where I live. Every place is different. They say, Tyler, do you think there needs to be size limits on the Neuse River? And my honest answer is no. I don't know. I don't think so, because there's more bigger and better fish being caught every year that I don't think our river system here. Now, other places it's getting demolished by commercial fishing, absolutely. But here, where there's no commercial fishermen, I don't think, it's doing better than it ever done. And every year there's bigger and better fish caught. Like I remember, you know, several years ago, man, if you caught a 30-pound blue catfish out of the noose, that was like, hey man, let me get a picture with that. That was crazy. And everybody was talking about it. They were like, man, can you believe he caught a 30-pound blue? Okay, now if you catch 330s in a tournament, that really ain't nothing. If you catch a 50 or 60 now, that's a good one. But man, it's the way it's doing. I just look and logically try to think about what's going on here and then make a decision. But ultimately, if somebody catches a 50-pound flathead, I want them to put all the fish back. Okay, I do, but I don't think it's hurting our resources if somebody does catch a 50-pounder and want to keep it. I hate that. I want them to let it go. Of course I do.
Yeah.
But you've got 200 miles of river that is, just loaded with monster fish. I don't think it hurts.
I have strange feelings about that, and I would never kill a big flathead, and that's my personal choice, just because they're so gorgeous. I can't. It's hard for me to kill a flathead anyhow, unless it's hooked deep or some reason why it's going to die. But a big flathead, I'd probably pay a vet bill to keep it alive. You know what I mean? I just can't kill one of them. I just think so much of them. But now, I don't keep big fish of any kind. Start with, I don't like to clean them, but I love to eat them. So if I'm going to clean them, they're going to be small.
That's right.
And I think that that's a good thing, because the small ones are better eaten anyhow. And let's face it, it's like wallering a hog around. Get one of them. I've ate clean big ones before, and it's hard to do. And I'm just not going to do it. It's just more trouble than it's worth for me. And like I say, Missouri was smart when they made their regulations on the Lake Ozark and Truman and all them. They raised the limit from 5 to 10 for the underfish because it's so overpopulated with unders, and then made a slot where you can't keep them and only 2 overs.
Right.
And I never keep an over. I just ain't do it.
Right.
I like the little ones.
Yeah, like 10 and under, man. Well, why you need a 40-pound bag of meat? I mean,
if I would get Cindy and I would go out and I would never keep 20 fish, because I don't clean that damn many of them. But I'd keep enough for us to have a meal or two off of it, and that'd be it. But there's no reason to take them breeding size fish out of the gene pool. If they're that big, they need to be passing that along. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's my theory.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anybody is curious, that is definitely a replica. Okay, that is the real fish was released alive, and there are videos of that. And of course, if you want to go to my TikTok, I've got one pinned at the top. But you can also go to YouTube and search it as well, and you'll see that fish actually swimming off very healthy. And that was a huge, in the catfishing world. Catfishermen are brutal. Okay, they are brutal humans. Okay,
They really are.
they are brutal. Could you imagine if I would have caught a state record fish and it would have, unfortunately, I tried everything I could, but it died.
And that happens.
And sometimes it's just the way it's going to be. That's.
Could you imagine how much hate people would have towards me
The
killing
grief
a
you'd
fish.
have had would be unbearable.
Oh yeah.
But and then people hate on other people, when at the end of the day, we're here, man, to all for the same purpose. We're here to catch fish, have a good time, be a little competitive, and have the fellowship, and that's really getting harder to come by.
Oh, yeah.
And the bashing of people. If somebody's holding up a 40-pound fish in their house, and man, it's a 10-year-old kid, and he's like his PB, and he's tripping, and he wanted to show his family. People are just creaming these little boys, man.
Yeah,
And
you got to leave them alone.
just
They're
clap
doing what
for
they
'em.
don't know better.
Congratulations.
That's right.
And look, there ain't a person. There's gonna be people that say that, oh man, well, if I had the state record and I didn't really have a live well, I would just throw them back. No, you're not.
That's
No,
easy to say.
no. If you got
Until
the
it's getting in
state,
your boat.
if
You
you
know,
got a
Easy to
one,
say.
if you got a 120% obvious this is the state record, and the reward for a state record could be this, he's going to the scales.
Yeah.
More than likely, you're gonna be like, I'll deal with the grief later.
No.
It's just, but that's why I built a 93-gallon live well on my boat. I've got G juice, I've got oxygen stones. I can recirculate the water. I can pump water in continuously fresh. I've got an oxygen tank. I've got separate Venturi systems. My fish, if they die, they had a heart attack. you know.
We have oxygen. We got all that on our boat, and you could still lose one.
Absolutely.
You could still lose a fish. Nobody wants to lose them big fish like that, but it can happen. And my biggest fear is getting one, even with circle hooks, you can still deep hook one and then bleed profusely. There's nothing you can do about that.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing people need to understand, like you said, though, is things do happen. I mean,
things can happen.
Micah Burkhart,
that's life.
Yep.
Well, Micah Burkhart, he just caught that. He beat his own state record, and they were posting pictures and videos of him weighing it in, and before he could even get the second video, people were just trashing him left and right. That fish died, you dirty son of a what.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And then
20 minutes later, but then 20 minutes later, he's putting the video out where, hey, guess what? I put that fish back alive. Thanks.
Yeah, no, you can take anytime
you judge about it.
Anytime there's a thing like on the news, if the local news puts a story about somebody catching a big catfish or catching a big fish at all or catch a state record, immediately, just look at it, read the article, say, hey, that's a cool fish, ain't go on, because if you go in that comment section, you're just going to get mad.
That's right.
Because
that's 100% correct.
There's going to be 50 people who looked and said, "Oh, it's a shame that they killed that poor fish." When the article may say, "Hey, it was released alive," blah blah blah.
But they don't read all that.
They don't read the articles. They just get in there to complain because too many people ain't happy unless they got a finger hung up in a fan anymore. But but they ultimately, if somebody caught a fish legally using legal methods, and that fish is legal to harvest, if they choose to harvest that fish, you're never going to get anywhere. If you beat them over the head for it,
it's just going to make them kill more of them.
Ultimately, we can educate. We can say, hey, this is probably why. But if you start beating people over the head with it, they're not going to listen. They're going to shut down, because that's what we do. That's what we do as human beings. We shut down when somebody's just beating us over the head with something. So,
yep. Absolutely.
But you can show more by your actions. Show how you're doing it. The people that are wanting to learn are going to learn, and we go from there. But my soapbox for the evening. So, has
anyone else got any questions in chat for Tyler?
Somebody want to know Rachel's PB.
25 pounds.
Nothing wrong with that. I think that's a little bigger than mine.
Yeah, that was like her first trip and last trip. She said, "This ain't for me." She was cranking on that thing. Well, let me tell you something.
Oh man! I tell you what, though, a 25-pound flathead is going to fight flatheads are born with shoulders.
Man, I ain't lying.
I don't care what size the flathead is; they're going to have shoulders on them. Thank you. My daughter brought me a Tootsie Roll.
Where's mine?
I don't know, but she brought me ones, and that's all that matters.
I guess so.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
They were to stand up. Come back here. So this the only way to make a difference is to have a conversation. You need to be good ambassadors of the sport. You know, people are going to watch and see how you're doing, and people are going to watch for you to mess up. If you're
absolutely that for sure.
If you're out there saying, "Hey, I release every single fish I catch," and then you keep one, oh, trust me, the internet don't forget. So they're gonna crucify you. But
I agree.
I've got my go-to lake. I've got my go-to size on fish if I'm keeping fish for table fare, and I know I can keep just about as many as I want out of that lake and not do any damage to it. So flathead, I catch them so few and far between, I don't keep them. But there's a good question, Jason Hurst. What do you think the biggest flathead is out there swimming?
You know, I don't know that. You know, I thought about that too, and like the world record's 123 pounds. So, and it's one of the only ones that I know recorded over 100 pounds. So that's definitely a mystery question. Man, I don't know. I mean,
that one had a huge carp inside of it too? So it just
did it really? So
monstrous carp.
Elk City Reservoir in Kansas. I just looked it up on Google. 123 pounds.
Oh wow! So
I think the last big one caught in Missouri was caught on a trot line was 99.
99
on a trot line. Alternative method they call it. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't. Well, that's such a hard question. I mean, you talking about? I don't know.
It's pure speculation.
I would say that there could be one. Without the carp in the stomach, I would say there's probably 115, 120.
Yeah.
Much of you know, it's hard to say because you know, if you all right, so blue catfish, there's fish well over 100 pounds getting caught very, very consistently. Actually, very consistent.
Yep.
So there could be 100, I think 75, 80 pound blue. Yeah, I think one day it's possible for a 200 pounder. I mean, really.
If you go to Memphis and talk to the commercial fishermen down there, they will, and if you want to be honest with you, they'll tell you that there is consistently 100+ pound fish caught in their nets all the time, but they don't say anything about it because they don't want to hear the grief.
Oh yeah.
There's a good one there. JM Fishing said, "I feel like most people are not throwing bait big enough for a triple-digit flathead."
I do.
It's amazing what a flathead. They're all mouth. I mean, you sit there and you bait up and you think, this thing's too big for anything in this water I'm fishing, and then here's a 10-pound fish just swallows it. So
exactly,
2-pound skipjack is nothing for for a big blue.
Yeah.
Nothing.
And you know, down there at the base of them dams, there's probably 500-pound flatheads the size of Volkswagen.
Look like Volkswagens.
Yeah, like I think we did a show on Mythbusters and we took care of that one. So
that one was a great episode.
That was a great thumbnail on that one. So.
That was. That's one of my favorites.
I know.
Yeah, there is big fish at them dams, but most of the time they're on the bottom side, not the top side. Believe it or not, because that's where the water comes through, and there's bait and oxygen and all that stuff. But there's other structure, but dams typically is the biggest structure in any river system. But that's not the only structure. And like I say, old dead trees, the older they've been in there, the better them fish like it. And I'll take that any day to fish. And rocks, piles, and riprap, and all riprap. People overlook that, in my opinion, because you get hung up a lot. But let's face it. Can you imagine how many crawfish are in that riprap? And that's why there's always channel cat in there. And them blues and flatheads, they don't go in there looking for them crawfish. They're going in there looking for them channel cat and bass and bluegills and stuff like that. They're not going after them crawfish.
That's right.
So and all them other fish, they all eat them. So
Yeah.
rocks is good, wood's good, any kind of structure, ledges, drop offs, anything like that. Contour levels. If you look at a map that shows contour lines on there, each one of them is a piece of structure.
That's right.
They just are, and it doesn't have to be a great amount of change to make a difference to a fish. Sometimes, would you agree with that, Tyler?
Yeah, I totally agree, man. It doesn't have to be any dramatic ledge. It doesn't have to be a dramatic hole. Any variance in the river. So if you got a river that's say 100 yards, and all 100 yards is the same depth, but in this one section for about 15-20 feet, there's a tree and it's a foot deeper. He could be right there. If it looks different, there's a fish there. There's a fish there. There's a fish there. And there, they can, man. At the end of the day, I've caught fish, man, in places I never thought I would have caught a fish, and I've caught no fish in places I know there'd be a monster.
Yeah.
So, it's just, right. Is that the right time, right place? Right bait, right, man. There's so many variables, and with these flatheads, man, that's what's just so amazing, with these flatheads on what just their habitat and what they do and how they. It's really amazing. That's why I love fishing for flatheads. It's a different, a very unique style of fishing. It just is. It just is.
Do you use any big shad live?
Here not really.
Okay.
Not really. Not saying now if I have some jumbo shad, 100% I'm throwing it out. All rivers are loaded with shad, but for me, it's kind of harder for me to keep shad alive.
They're hard to keep alive. They
They're
are.
very difficult to keep alive.
Especially in the summer months, and I don't have really a resource to, like, I don't have a lake that I can throw the net and get some, put them in live well, and let's see.
One of
And
the biggest
Tyler,
thing about shad is purging them, putting them in 5-gallon bucket and let them smell everything that they want to get rid of before you put them in the tank you're going to put them in, because
right.
they get rid of everything.
They'll dirty up your water in a hurry.
Yeah.
So, Two Stands Fishing says, in Tyler's opinion, what is one or two things that the average flathead angler should focus on or change to go from catching your average flathead to catching monsters consistently? I don't know about changing anything to catch monsters consistently. I don't know. Besides more time on the water and being more comfortable under all situations to ultimately, the more time that you have on the water under different scenarios, the more likely you have these areas, places, ideas that consistently hold larger fish, how they're migrating, where do they lay at for the winter, when do they start moving upriver, when can you catch them moving, are they still there's so many variables with that. But there's one thing that I would say that is super effective here, and it's one of the things that I'm going to talk about in my seminar at the Catfish Conference, is move. Find a place, fish it 30-40 minutes, move. You'll find that a lot of times that fish is going to hit sooner than later. But now I'm not saying you can't sit somewhere for 2 hours and then finally catch one, but you also got to imagine this tactic may not work on every body of water. I'm talking about bodies of water like mine, shallow, 2 to 5 feet on average, 2 to 4 feet. You fish a spot, okay, there's a log jam over there. Guess what? I'm going to anchor about 20 feet away from it. I'm going to take my brim, I'm going to throw into it. That's one spot. He's either going to come out and grab it or he's not. 30 minutes move, 30 minutes move. Because a lot of times if you're on the water and you're hitting this cover like a log pile, you'll find it. Guess what? Man, he hit quick. Well, guess what? You didn't have another hit for the last hour. You wasted time. You wasted a lot of time. You could have hit another spot or two instead of sitting there. So find a spot, hit it, pull a fish out of there. If you pull a fish in the first 5 minutes, I would still wait another 15, 20, 30 minutes, maybe, depending on what it is. It just so many scenarios, but most of the time for me, especially tournament fishing, 30 to 40 minutes, get out of there. Yeah. The more that you can, I like the thumbs up, whoever did that. But
Where'd that come from?
yeah, that was
Yeah,
cool.
I've never seen that before.
I ain't either. That's a new one.
Neither am I. That's pretty cool.
So that's
How's that
that
cool
is
stuff?
that now, but you're talking if y'all got rivers that is 40 foot deep. I mean, I would still think the same thing because they're territorial to an extent. There's times, I'm not saying you can't catch 250s out of the same area, because you can, but most of the time, man, after the spawn's over, they're kind of picking their own area. And if you catch one that's 5 pounds, okay, there could be another one. But if you catch one that's 40, probably not going to catch another big one. But you could. Depend. Just so many. Everybody orders different.
They're not like blues. Blues
No.
travel in pairs and
Yeah.
trees and
Absolutely.
stuff like that. But
Blues
flatheads
congregate
are
by size too.
right. They will.
If
But flatheads not so much. They're loners for the most part, especially when they get bigger.
Now, I do have a question for you, Tyler. We've got a lake here that has some massive flatheads in it. It also has some massive channel cats. Now, a lot of the time, what ends up happening, we'll set up, we're going to go out and we're going to target flatheads, and we're going to get we'll get killed by the channel cats. Anywhere from 10 to 20 pound channel cats.
Mm-hmm.
If they're in there, if the channels are in there messing around, would you leave and go target somewhere else, or are the flathead going to move right in there with them?
I think they'll be there with them. Channel cats are kind of, a lot of times, if you're in an area, from my experience, if I'm in an area that I am catching a couple channel cats, that could still very well. It seems like they almost think alike, almost not exactly the same, but they tend to like these same areas, calmer spots, deeper, just areas like that, but also where a flathead would be. So now, I wouldn't just say, oh man, there's nothing but channels, leave. I would probably go ahead and pick off 2 or 3 channel cats. When it gets dead and no action, that's when it's gonna happen.
Okay.
Because them little fish are, man, they're probably gonna come in there and hit anything. You could take ivory soap and throw out there, and them channel cats gonna hit it, and then it's gonna get quiet. Then that flathead's he's gonna kind of lurk out, and that's in my opinion. But yeah, if you catch that is a great question. So if I'm tournament fishing and I'm fishing this ledge, but also has a tree that fell in it, man, this is beautiful. I set up there, and in the first 2 minutes, I catch a 30-pound blue. I'm not moving because I know I'm looking for the flathead that lives there. That blue, man, he ain't worried about that flathead. That blue, he's going wherever he wants, when he wants to. Just like Lyle said, look, they can be traveling in groups of 50. I mean, they ain't worried about the flathead. They ain't all that blue was worried about is I'm swimming, I'm eating, and that's it. I'm not sitting still. But depending on if they're spawning or something. But yeah, if you're catching some channel cats, I would definitely wait it out and then hit it again. But like I said, if you ain't caught that flathead within that maybe 40, 45 minutes in your scenario, get out of there.
Okay.
That's just me.
I'm on board with all that. Sounds perfect to me.
My last PB flathead got it back in May, and I'd gone out. I was sitting out bank fishing this one little spot, and it's easy to get to, and I just had some time to kill. And I want to say I was talking to these other 2 knuckleheads on Messenger, and I looked up and I've got a rod doubled over, and I'm like, oh, only bite I had that night. It come about 1:30 in the morning and ended up being just 28 pound or something like that. It wasn't a huge flathead, but it was new PB for me. So
That is a good flathead.
And a great fish.
Absolutely.
Don't sneeze at a 28 flathead.
I'm not.
Flathead.
No, I said it was.
And
absolutely. And I tell you too, in the shallow rivers, when it is very low and it's very warm, very hot, the water temperature's way on up there. Okay. To me, I don't even consider fishing starting until 12 o'clock. until midnight. But the golden hours, 4 to 6 a.m., 100%. I've caught more 50-pound flatheads the last 30 minutes to hour before the sunrise than at any time. That morning bite is such a realistic thing. It is 100% a real thing on where I'm at. It's just how it is. It's their final. They know the sun's coming up. It's their final feeding window. They got that 30-minute of just killer. That's why, like, a lot of times, there's probably some people in here watching saying, I ain't thought about that, or he's right, or Tyler sucks. You don't know what he's talking about. But if there's the people that are watching, try to remember that trip that you fished all night and it was kind of dead. But all of a sudden, man, that last hour, man, it was like the rods were going off. Everything was biting. These fish are moved. They're energetic. They know that sun's coming up and they want to feed before it gets daylight. And that is a huge, and that's a lot of thing about tournament anglers around here is, of course, you stay up all night long, man, you're tired. We get lazy. It's slow. But, buddy, I can go from 0 pounds to 110 pounds in 30 minutes. That last window is so crucial. It has made me or broke me numerous times. I mean, numerous times.
That I like from dusk till 11 o'clock real well too.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and for sure, like for me, like I said, it depends, I guess, on the body of water too. I mean, it's just tough to say in the time of year and stuff too. So, like, there's a lot of
plays
variables.
into it. When it's your turn, when your number comes up and the fish is around, you're going to catch a good.
Yep.
Yeah. Exactly. It just depends. Are they pre-spawn right now? If they're pre-spawn, well, guess what? If the water's still cool, you catch them before the sun goes down. You'll catch. But after spawn, and it's hot. For me, the later in the night, the better for me.
Yeah.
But pre-spawn, shoot, man, you can catch them all day long. It doesn't matter. That water temp plays a big factor into how energetic the fish are.
I agree.
River Outdoor Apparel said we got to see it live when he caught that 50-pounder at the end of the tournament, then had motor problems.
Yeah, so that was the tournament to remember. So that was March. I knew that the fish was starting to wake up. So we had, I think, about 100 and I think we ended up with like 112 pounds or so. My morning bite spot, I told everybody on the live, I'm saving one spot under these conditions for the morning. Okay. I started off in this spot. I did not catch a fish. I said, this is a prime spot during this time of the year. I'm going to try when the sun comes up. I've told everybody I missed him. I think he's here, but I've missed the fish. I'm coming back in the morning. So when the fish is dormant and he's laid in his hole and he's lurking, that's a great time to get a big one when he finally gets out of his hole. But in the morning bite, I am a huge fan of setting up somewhere, maybe not in a hole, but somewhere around the hole to catch them coming back to lay down.
That's right.
And that's what River Outdoor Apparel was saying or River Outdoor Apparel was saying was, I caught that fish right when the sun was coming up. He was lurking back in. He smoked it. I mean, actually, it was kind of bright. It was after sunrise, and he just reeled it. I mean, he was just there.
He just hadn't made it home yet.
Hey, that's right.
Yeah.
So, but it's just a lot of trial and error, and try new things. Anybody that's watching, if don't go out to that boat ramp that you're used to and hit the same 5 spots you used to. Try go to a different ramp. Try something different. I'm telling you, you're gonna find out that ramp that you like so much ain't got nothing on the next one.
That's right.
Right.
Yep.
That's right. So
a good time to do that's when the wind's blowing and one of them's got taller things around you, not to block the wind.
Yeah, exactly. So, man, but at the end of the day, go fishing, have a good time. Don't get frustrated with it. Go have some fun. And, everybody's level of wanting to learn is different. It's okay, it's just human nature. Some really want to really figure it out. Some want to go on the weekend. Some wants to go once a year, and that's okay. It doesn't matter. But ultimately, catfishing, we are all blessed to have this opportunity to go out. Don't overthink it. Don't make it stressful. Enjoy
Have fun.
God's creation and just have a great time, man. Just have a great
Yeah,
time.
that's exactly right. And if it's become work or a job, then you've taken it too seriously.
Yep, that's right. It can stress you out. Tournament fishing can stress the person out too.
Absolutely can. Yes, sir.
Mm.
Do we have a bragging board tonight, John?
We did not. It was a little light this week, and
Okay.
you guys know I'm prepping for a road trip, so
You are.
it's I ran out of time today, so
I understand. We can do our next trip.
maybe I'll go fish Tanner's Creek.
That'll work.
Yeah, I'm gonna get out of here.
I'm going south this week. I'm going to Bama. So,
well, good luck. I hope you have a great time down there.
Yep. And I'll be in Chattanooga come Friday, so we'll go down there, and I'm going to do circles around all them Tennessee River people that are going to be fishing some kind of fake tournament or something. So,
well, if you're going to do that, you'll see do and really make them mad.
Oh, I got my boat's way better than a Sea-Doo. So
yeah, but they won't make them do as mad as Sea-Doos do.
Here come the haters, Chad. We did good. Here come the haters.
There's always haters. That's fine.
Oh,
that's okay.
Yep, Stan.
But Tyler, I appreciate, man.
We'll do a double up bragging board for next week. So
there you go.
Good. Hopefully, we'll have some good fish to add to it. But
Tyler, I don't see
Tyler. Anything. I appreciate you coming in and hanging out with us tonight.
Absolutely, it was great having you on here.
Show tonight.
Awesome
Absolutely.
Information, and good luck with your seminar down at the Catfish Conference.
Yeah, honestly, guys, it was nice to have somebody almost on my caliber of fishing skill on with.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Chad, very close to your level, man. But Chad, you're somebody that I really look up to, and I think everybody else in the industry should try to fish harder to get on your level. Now, I know it's not very possible, but you're top tier, Chad. Top tier, and if we got goals, it's to chase you down, my man.
Oh, man.
Tyler, I love
that's
Chad
right,
man. I love D Fields to death, but I'm going to tell you, you do not want to be on D's bad side. And if you keep talking Chad up and swell his head up where he can't get through the door, you're going to end up on D's bad side. AWOL fishing, that's the plan we usually go. So Tyler's going to be speaking at CatCon. Chad usually gets over there. Lyle, it's a bit of a drive. I don't know if Lyle will be there or not. But
I haven't been there the last couple of years. I don't know if we're going this year or not. But we'll see. I'm not making any plans to go or anything.
That drive is just so hard. It's like an hour and 15 minutes for drive for me.
Again, we can be removed.
Yeah, it's about 3 hours for us. So.
Yeah, it's like 14
for me. I drive because I've got a lead foot. But
yeah, we'll see you there, Tyler. That's for sure.
It would be worth the trip to see Tyler and listen to him a little bit. I think that would be a time well spent to go down there and get my hand around his, and it's things are different when you're up close and personal. They just are.
That's right. Well, absolutely, man. And I look forward to seeing y'all down there. And if there's anybody else that's still hanging around, I don't know how many people we got in here, but yeah,
75 people in here.
We still got 75, yeah.
75 people. I think that's awesome, and I appreciate everybody hanging in here and supporting us all tonight. And I think that's amazing. And like everybody else in here saying, I will be at the Catfish Conference in February. I think it's February 23rd and 24th of next year in Louisville, Kentucky. And I would absolutely love to see and meet so many awesome people. I'd love to, have y'all support during my seminar because y'all don't know how nervous I'm going to be doing something like that in front of a whole bunch of people. So that's going to be super cool. But another great thing is, I would love to see you wearing some for-real fishing apparel, man. So that's a brand that we have started with not too long ago through our following on TikTok. Right now, it's just focused on mainly apparel, but we have some awesome, hopefully some game-changing things coming. And we would love to see you in some for-real fishing gear. But thank you guys for all your time, and it's been a blast, and I hope y'all have me on the show again.
Oh, absolutely.
Anytime you would like to be on, we would love to have you on.
Oh, absolutely. If I can get one of them bobbleheads, can I get it autographed?
Well, Chad, how about this? How about I send you the bobblehead, you sign it, send it back to me for my collection.
I'll do it. Hold on,
Santa.
I've got
You
my
gotta
autograph
stop that.
just for that.
Santa.
All right. Oh, get those. Thank you so much. I do look forward to it. Oh, Lyle, anything else for the?
I'm good for the night. I'm good for the night. It was a great show with a great guest, and appreciate everybody watching.
All righty. Well, thank you guys so much. If I can help anybody with anything at all, never hesitate to reach out to me. And like I said, thank you guys again for this awesome opportunity. I've had an absolutely wonderful night, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Okay, guys?
Absolutely.
Sounds great.
Absolutely.
Fun time to me. I hope everybody has a great week. We will see you on Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern over on the Bait Shop on Field to Water YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed, get over there and check it out. And if you haven't already,
on Wednesday.
Yep.
Y'all have a show?
Yep.
I'm just getting Panfish Nation.
Wednesday night at 7.
Yep.
That's 8 p.m. Eastern. That's 8 p.m. God's time.
But it's not God's time.
He tries to throw people off there, Tyler. But Panfish Nation on Wednesday night, the Bait Shop over on Fields to Water on Thursday night. And if you haven't already, before you walk out this door tonight, please hit that thumbs up. Tyler's been a great guest. It's been a pleasure having him.
Yep.
So, any closing things from you there, Josh?
I think
you mattered.
Well, I've had John crawling in and out on me and everything, but guys, we've put Tyler's link in chat a few times. Go over, check him out, give him a follow, and
absolutely.
Definitely on your way out, if you haven't already, hit that thumbs up button. This has been an awesome show tonight. We've had a great guest.
It has been really good.
Tyler, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Have a good week, everybody.
Everybody have a great week.
See y'all later.
See y'all.